Hello, my name's John,
My name is Alex.
and we finally settled on a name for this little podcast show thing that we're doing.
We did.
We're thinking about Querds because we're queer and we're nerds, so you know.
Happy marriage.
Yeah,
Words.
Querds. There we go. But hi everyone, welcome back. If you did listen to episode 1, thank you. If you didn't, go listen to episode 1.
It's a
Because
crap show.
it is a crap show. But you know,
But it's fun.
It's fun. It's our little crap show. You know, yay. But on episode 2, this episode, we're going to be talking about Doctor Who again. Still continuing our retrospective. But we're going to start talking about the 11th Doctor, my Doctor,
Matt Smith.
Matt Smith. Yes. So what were your thoughts on Matt Smith's introduction into the show? How did you?
I enjoyed him.
Mm-hmm.
Again, as I mentioned in the previous podcast, I enjoy how good of an acting job
Mm-hmm.
the actors do on the show, like ensemble to main cast. But like those are big shoes to fill. Like David Tennant, like did a good job. Like I fell in love with Doctor Who because of David Tennant. Yeah. You know? That's not to say that I wouldn't have with season 9.
Right.
We didn't start with season 9.
Right.
And again, just for a reminder, this is the first season.
Yeah, series 5.
We just got done
series 5. Yeah.
We just got done series 5.
Mm-hmm.
So this is our retrospective on that
series 5
season. I enjoyed it. Like he took charge.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just within the first episode, I kind of had already like come to terms with it's okay. This isn't David Tennant. This isn't even near close to like the same way David Tennant is. Yeah. But like he's still the Doctor. The Doctor. Yeah. And, like that's not different. It's really well done.
Yeah. I remember when Matt got cast. And they released the first episode. I remember this so vividly too. Mm-hmm. Alex and I were on the bus, and we didn't have smartphones back then. So how did we? He might have had an iPhone. That's not important. Yeah, he brought up, either he or I brought up like the fact that somebody else had been cast as the Doctor, the 11th Doctor, and it was this picture of Matt Smith in front of the TARDIS in like this all black sort of outfit, and he was like looking up, and he was really, really pale, and it was also the time that Twilight was popular.
Oh no.
And Alex and I were, we were middle school boys, like, oh, we hated Twilight. And then, we look at him and we're just like, why does he look like Edward Cullen? Like, I hate this dude. This dude's gonna be so bad. Like, oh my god, I hate this. And then the first episode aired, and it was good. And I remember, like, Alex took to him immediately, but me, because I was still so attached to David, like, David, again, like, and in a lot of ways for you, but like for me, like David was Doctor Who, and he really shaped my love for the show, and it was hard to get him out of my mind as the Doctor, because that was my first real generation. I was a 14-year-old kid and didn't really understand the premise of the show and all of that stuff. And it was also a very different show. Stephen Moffat has a very different take on Doctor Who than what Russell T Davies does. So it took me a while to warm to him, but as the season went on, I fell in love with him. And yeah, so it's just that was I remember that so vividly. But yeah, Matt is so good at taking charge of the situation. I haven't watched series 5 in a while, actually, to be honest, but seeing how quickly he established himself and remembering how quickly he established himself as the Doctor was phenomenal. But like I want to get into episode conversations and breakdowns later. Let's just talk about like the characters right now. So like what did you notice about 11? What did you notice? Because you said that he's very different from David, and the way Matt plays him is very different from David, but he's still the Doctor. So where did you see some of those similarities, and where did you see some of those differences?
Similarities in the fact that, like, he's the Doctor.
Yeah.
He's excited about any situation,
Yeah.
good or bad, that happens. Like, he's most excited when, you know, things are going wrong.
Yeah.
And, like, that still kind of came through with Matt's Doctor.
Yeah.
Differences are just, they're kind of, like, smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, with the way he articulates and the way he talks
Mm-hmm.
and the way he acts towards
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
in a way. Like, maybe I'm looking at it, you know, with a little bit of bias towards, like, the end of the
Mm-hmm.
David Tennant era, where he started becoming a little colder, especially in, like, the specials. He
Yeah.
became a little colder and
Yeah.
a little more mastery, if
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah.
And Matt's just got, like, this. He just has, like, this genuineness about him with every race that is like.
Yeah.
I want to, like, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
It's just
No, I understand what you're saying. And this is not a slight on David or Ten, because I love Ten. He is one of my favorite Doctors. But Ten is very standoffish in a lot of ways. It's like to people he doesn't know, and he can be kind of a dick to his companions sometimes. But really to people that he doesn't really know, or like he doesn't think is worth his time, he's just like, okay, I'm not going to deal with you right now, like let me focus on this or whatever. And he's like, he's nice and warm to people his companions care about, but like when it comes to just like everyday people, he's just very much like, okay, like cool, like if we're in this situation, like shut up, let me handle this, where I feel like Matt is very much like, still can be very shut up, let me handle this, but I feel like he is more willing to communicate with the people around him in those situations.
I agree. That's a very big difference.
Yeah. I also think Matt is a lot more, I feel, socially awkward than
Yes.
Ten is.
Yes.
And I really love that. Because like that whole situation when he and Amy are like in the bedroom and she's just like, oh, like I thought about who I want. He's like, yeah, right. Cool. What are you saying? And she's just like, about like, who I want. He's like, oh yeah, 100%.
Get it. What are we talking about?
Huh? What? Yeah, like he is a lot more. He is not as good as picking up on social cues, which I kind of really enjoy and puts him in a lot of funny, precarious situations. But I also feel like he gets more different from David as he progresses, and as the season progresses, because it was something that I realized in my rewatch, especially watching them all together. In his first episode, the 11th Hour, when he's like just come out of Regeneration, he still has a lot of like 10 isms, like it's small things that you won't really notice, but the way he like says some things and flexes some things, and kind of just the way he acts is more along the lines of like 10, and there's still remnants of 10 there. And then like as the season progresses, he really starts to try to figure out who he is as the Doctor, and then sort of at the end of the season he's like, okay, like I'm off the walls, bouncy, like crazy, I'm a child, but like when the situation gets serious, like I'm here, you know what I mean? So that's really, I love that about 11, and I think that's, in retrospective, especially having grown up and watching multiple Regenerations now, I like the sort of stark difference between 10 and 11. Yeah. But we also get introduced to Amelia Pond this season. Amy, love her. Actually, my favorite companion, thinking about it, of the modern series. What are your thoughts on Amy so far? And be honest.
I love her.
Okay.
No, like I do. I love her. Again, I think it's now a tie between. It's like a three-way tie for me, and I think it's just because it's been so recent. And I'm sure, like as the seasons go on, for as long as Amy's with us, I will probably fall even more in love with her. But that's just to backtrack for like one quick.
I
think the reason, another part of Matt's Doctor, the 11th Doctor, being so obviously different but also the same, it's like the story revolved around new characters as well. So like, I think that definitely helped bring out like a different side. Like he's like, all right, I get to restart how I am. I don't have to like stick with who I was as a past Doctor.
Yeah.
Anyways, to get back on track and back to the question. Amy, yes, I do love her. I enjoy. She's got almost like the best of like Donna and Miss Martha.
Yeah.
You know, because like she's got like the intelligence and the cleverness of Martha. I'm not saying Donna doesn't, but Donna had like that kind of, you know, like fire about her. Part of the ginger, you know, jokes, but like she just had this vibrancy about her that was, you know, that made her unique. She like Donna human, like I love Donna and like her contrast to the seriousness of, you know, the Doctor at times. And I think that Amy is a very good balance of both. Like she's like, she gets fired up, but like she's also super clever. She handled the TARDIS in the episode with the time ship on the
with James Corden.
She handled it so well, and that was, from what we know, the first time that she flew it herself without him in there. And like she could do it. Like hello.
And like my whole thing is The Beast Below, the second episode, like, of the season that she's in, where she goes in there, she makes a mistake, and as soon as she makes a mistake, the Doctor's like, I'm sending you home, and she's like, what? Because I made a single mistake? Like, that's not fair. And then the fact that by herself, she figures out, like, just by interacting with the Doctor, by observing the situation that was happening around her and everything like that, and the story that she heard about the Star Whale, she was able to save the Star Whale herself and was able to just figure out that situation without the Doctor, because the Doctor was getting ready to, for all intents and purposes, kill that Star Whale.
Make it a vegetable.
Yeah.
Which I think that's the beautiful thing about this relationship already so far is before you really got to see how much the Doctor impacted the companion, but like their interactions within the first couple episodes, like he already started getting warmer to other people because she's like, people make mistakes. This happens. And then she went and solved it, and he's just like, yeah, you're right. I need to remember that I am 907 years old. I am experienced. Not everyone else is. And I think that's kind of what helps him be warm to new people.
And it really helps like show, like you were saying, the impact that companions have with the Doctor, just like in general, where it's like you said, he's 907 years old at this point. He's seen so many things, but once you get so old, you get set in your ways, you know. But when you have somebody who is young and new to this and is just like, I can see these things that you don't because you're expecting it to go this way. It's really, really cool that she was able to do that so early on in her tenure with the Doctor. But we also learned that she has a boyfriend on Earth, Rory.
He plays that actor
Arthur Darvill, who plays Captain Rip Hunter on Legends of Tomorrow.
That's where I recognize him from. He's funny. I love him. Like he's a good partner to the companion. Like he's so loving, and I know that like it was a different situation with, you know, Rose and Mickey. That was she was gone for like a whole year in his time, whereas like, you know, she came right back. Amy came right back. So, but like the fact that like he gets on the ship, and I think it's also it's how it was written. They weren't, the Doctor and Amy weren't written as like lovers. They were written as like best friends for each other because he was her imaginary friend to each other. So like I like that. And then when, you know, Rory came aboard and started, you know, doing things with her, of course he, you know, got a little
like jealous
at first, but the Doctor was like, unlike David Tennant, like, unlike that Doctor, he kind of was like, oh no, like maybe not right away, but like he eventually came around and was just like, no, like, no, you two are who, like, are supposed to be together. Like she chooses you, she wants you, and that was obviously the episode Amy's Choice. But she did decide to do that.
I love I love Rory by himself. I think he is such a whereas Amy sort of acts as a guiding hand to the Doctor, Rory's kind of like what's a good word? Kind of like a slap in the face for lack of a better word, you know? Like Amy's just like, you know, maybe you need to look at things this way and this is how we can help better save the situation. But then Rory comes in and is like, but what you are doing right now is putting people in danger. And it's very much like you're not thinking about the fact that, which is again, like I think why both of them are so good for the Doctor, because like Amy is looking like not looking. Amy is saying look at the bigger picture when it comes to this situation, while Rory is saying look at the bigger picture when it comes to the people here, and the way that this is going to impact people's lives, and things like that. And the fact that Amy is willing to go off and have adventures with the Doctor and everything like that. But Rory's willing to do that too. But Rory's like, at the end of the day, we have to come home because we have things at home that we still need to take care of, and people at home that we still need to take care of. And I think that's a very good dynamic for the Doctor to have in the TARDIS. And again, like you brought up the Mickey and Rose comparison. I remember when season 5 first started airing, and there was a lot of comparisons for when it comes to Rory and Mickey, and people thought that the Rose situation was happening because Amy kisses the Doctor, says she wants to be with him and everything like that, but like I think people, and me at the time as well, misread it because she specifically says like, I'm not thinking about anything long term, like I just died, I was scared, and you saved me, and you've been this mystical person in my mind and an identity, and I'm trying to bone real quick, like let me just stick it in.
It was just like a pure emotional thing.
Right. And then immediately, like you said, the Doctor gets Rory, and I don't ever really think that this is also a conversation that was happening and has been happening for a while still, is that I don't think, again, we're going to get into episode breakdowns further down the line. I'll probably go more into depth about this then, but I don't think Amy's choice was about like Amy choosing between, specifically, at least not all or wholly choosing between the Doctor and Rory. I think it was her feeling like she had to choose between her life with the Doctor or a life with Rory. And ultimately she chose, and no matter what capacity that is, she chose a life with Rory, and she's like, I don't care if I'm traveling in the TARDIS. I think that was her moment of saying, I don't think that's I don't care if that's us traveling in the TARDIS. I don't care if that's us, on Earth, me pregnant, and you have a ponytail. Like, I don't care. As long as I'm with you, I'm happy. Which I think is a very good distinction between, what happened between Rose and Mickey and Martha and Rory. That'd be interesting. Amy and Rory. But yeah. But we also learn a little bit more about River Song this season.
My love. Sweetie.
So we learned a couple new things about her this season. We learned that she is in prison. She's not yet a professor, and that she killed a man. So, what did you think about her expanded storyline in this season? And yeah,
I enjoy a good mystery. Like I like the fact that when she leaves, I'm stuck with like, yes, I know a little bit more about you, but now I have more questions. And so like I know that's just gonna make when we do get the explanation, I don't know if we do, but if we ever do, it's just gonna make it that much sweeter.
Yeah.
Like this is us. You're never like, even if it's like this is us, you're never gonna see us at the end.
Right.
But this is how our relationship is. I'm gonna pop in and out. I might not know who he is, but he knows who I am.
Right.
And vice versa. So eventually, one time when we met up and we didn't know who each other were, we just decided to fall in love with Mary or something like that, or whatever the equivalent is.
Right.
Because it's just, I'm going off track.
No, you're fine.
Her being in prison is interesting to me. I enjoy that, but I'm curious as to like if she's an alien, if she is human. Does she have, if she's human, does she have like some kind of like control over time somehow, and like is able to like stay as young every time they meet, kind of thing.
Right.
Because that's one thing that I definitely noticed in like the future with the episode of the library back in the season or the 10th Doctor.
Yeah.
That's way in her future. But then we meet her again, and she hasn't aged.
Right.
Same for younger or for older. She's same age, and it's just like, all right, cool. So, are you immortal? Are you an immortal alien? Are you a Time Lord?
Yeah.
Some respect. Are you a time echo? And like you just happen to be
everywhere. Right.
You just happen to be everywhere. You're like the good half of the Doctor, whereas the Master's like the bad
half
like,
of the Doctor. Right.
I have no idea who she is.
Could she be a future regeneration of the Master?
Who knows? Fuck! I didn't think about that. But I feel like it's only because the show implied it, and it's gonna come up with some kind of twist, and it's not gonna be. But like, I feel like the man that she killed is the Doctor, at some point. Because,
that is definitely like the obvious. I don't want to say obvious, but it is. It was heavily implied this season.
Very much.
Yeah, that because she he says. The cleric says, like, oh, she killed a man. And he's like, well, who did she kill? And he's like, you don't want to know. Like, you really don't want to know. And then he asks her, and she's like, I killed the most remarkable man. So it's definitely heavily implied that, like, she killed the Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, that and... Yeah, I have no idea what I was going to say right there.
But no, I mean, like, yeah, there is a lot of... There was already a lot of mystery to her character, but I love that this season just sets it up more so. And there's really so many possibilities, and I kind of forgot how many possibilities there are, like, now knowing who she is. Like, it is really, really interesting, and there were so many things that you just, like, said and suggested that I hadn't even, like, thought about in a while now. I love her character. I love how Alex Kingston plays her as well. And I wonder how much of this, like... Because I feel like Steven knew some stuff that he had planned to do with her and then didn't know other things that he ended up doing later down the line. But I wonder how much he told Alex Kingston, like, hey, so... when she was on... the library episode, I wonder if he told her, like, because at that point he didn't know that if she was coming back, but I wonder if he told her, like, hey, this version of the Doctor doesn't have the same face as a version of the Doctor that you do know or you would know if you did come back, etc., or if it was just like this Doctor doesn't know you, and then when she came back in this season, I wonder if he was like, okay, he knows you, he has the same face that you're going to know, but there's still sort of like that, because there are so many things that I'm trying to, like, say this without spoilers. I don't think what I'm going to say is like really a spoiler, but there's so many things and so many small things that the Doctor does this season that River reacts to that I now know is because, like, he talks to her a little colder than he would, like, sometime in the future and stuff like that. And then, like, she rolls her eyes at it, or she like looks appalled that he talked to her in that way, and it's like, oh, it's because, like, he doesn't know her, and she's used to versions of the Doctor that do know her. It's really interesting, again, watching all of this stuff in retrospective. You're gonna say something? No? Okay, well, cool. Well, since we've, like, done a lot of overall character speaking, let's, like, break down I was gonna say major episode by episode, but then I, like, really thought about it, and, like, all of the episodes are sort of major, either in terms of the overall story or character beats and character moments. The only one that sort of doesn't really have a lot of, like, weight or add a lot to the overall story or characters, the Lodger, the one with James Corden in it. And it's like like a fun not throwaway, but a fun, like, filler episode. But, like, there are no real either revelations or any real big character moments or character interactions between the two, so we probably just gonna skip that one. Let's talk about the 11th hour first. The real introduction to Matt. He comes in, burning TARDIS and all. Lands in this small girl's front yard, or is it? Yeah, her front yard, on her shed. And then we get a introduction to little Amelia Pond, played by Caitlin Blackwood, who is actually Karen Gillan's cousin, who she had never met before this happened. And that's really when you get sort of the introduction and establishment of Amy and the Doctor's sort of relationship, because he's already talking to her so, what's good, kid? You're here all alone. Where are your parents? And she says that her parents are gone, and it's just her and her aunt. Did you see anything weird about that, at first, or?
Honestly, it slipped my mind.
Right.
If I did, I had forgotten up to it until, they mentioned it, until at the end, where he was just where are your parents? What happened to them? Think hard. And she, didn't know. I didn't think anything of it, at first. I honestly, truly didn't. She said that, and I was like, okay, well, she probably doesn't know how to process it. They're gone.
Right.
That's all she, knows how to say.
Yeah.
But, maybe didn't realize that there might be more nuance to it.
Right.
Later down the line.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was something, again, that was a throwaway line that I really, really enjoyed, because like you said, you have no idea that it's part of the bigger story at play. But we also sort of get, an idea of, the home life that Amy has sort of had to deal with, because her aunt's nowhere to be seen. It's not really said. I don't remember if it said where her aunt is, but she left a 7-year-old girl home alone in the middle of the night. What was she doing? And Amy seems very sort of, standoffish again toward her aunt, which could sort of imply that her and her aunt don't have a great relationship, and then of course her parents are gone, so she's kind of, you could sort of get an idea that hey, this girl maybe has an issue with abandonment, and then the idea that the Doctor says that she can come with him once the TARDIS is fixed and everything like that, and he's I'll be back in 5 minutes, and then she goes out, sits on her cute little suitcase, and then she sits out there all night. Ooh, excuse me. She sits out there all night, and then the Doctor just doesn't come back until 12 years later. Now, did you know that the girl, because the Doctor comes back? Okay.
Oh yeah. I knew that as soon I was there's no logical way that they can have a child. They're not gonna have a child be the companion,
right?
Because I just know they're not gonna do that, and then there's no way that they're going to pull something fast or cheap, right. She joins and they're gonna do flash forward. Right. There's not gonna be a whole episode of her growing up,
right?
And then the first person that catches him is a flaming red-haired Irishman.
Right.
Okay, cool. Now I did think that she was a police officer.
Right.
I was like, holy shit, she's a police officer now.
Right.
Cool. She just never left.
Yeah.
She's hoping that the Doctor comes back at some point.
Right.
But yeah, I knew that it was her.
No, okay, cool. I mean, I knew because of set photos and casting calls and all that stuff. But there was a reaction that I saw online where somebody was like, "Oh my God, that's her!" And I was like, "Is that really hard to put together?" Because but all right. But it's this whole story about this alien prisoner Zero, escaping from the aliens. I guess another sort of alien police, the Atraxi, and saying that the human residents must give up Prisoner Zero or it's going to be incinerated. Not just talking about Amy's house, but the Earth.
Yeah.
Long story short, a bunch of stuff happens. The Doctor does some brilliant stuff with Jeff and his computer, who needs to delete his internet history. And the day is saved. What did you think about one of the most iconic moments in New Who, when the Doctor's oh, okay, is this planet protected? Because there's been so many people coming here. Who is it protected by? And I love that. Yeah.
I think that's one thing that I really love about the 11th Doctor is he's he has so much gusto, and again, that's to a fault.
Right.
And it's his biggest fault.
Right.
But he's Just the fact that he's like, go ahead and look.
Right.
Go ahead and look. Go ahead and look at the receipts. See how many times someone's tried to put this planet in danger.
Right.
How many timelines, how many different situations, and who all saved it.
Oh, well, me.
Me. So you might want to think, is this planet protected? Okay, get the heck out.
Right, bye.
And never
bye.
threaten to incinerate the home because it doesn't want to give up an alien that can disguise itself.
Right. Yeah.
Humans don't have that technology. Not yet.
Yeah, no, I love that scene in retrospective, and just like him being like, hey, yeah, got a new face and everything, still the Doctor, get off this planet. I love that so much. But then that's also when, you know, the Doctor runs off in his new outfit and everything and decides to take his new TARDIS for a test run, leaves Amy alone for 2 more years, and then officially does come back, you know, and says, come on, travel with me. And then she walks into the brand new decorated TARDIS. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the new TARDIS?
Yes. He had Fab Five come up in there, honey.
Right.
Like it was so nice. I like that, like, they expanded it to more than just like the
just
TARDIS
the console
part and the console, and like, you know, there's some railings. It's like, okay, where are they sitting?
Right.
Where are they sleeping?
Right.
Well, I know he might not get tired, but I know that humans do. So like, hello,
yeah.
I don't. It was just nice to see, like, there was like a loft almost, and like there was like a little. They let them explore.
Yeah, like the floor, and I really like that because like David Tennant's TARDIS is classic, but yeah, it's like there are apparently hidden stairways somewhere where you go down, and then there's just more rooms of the TARDIS and stuff like that. But I like how with Matt's TARDIS, it is very obvious. It's like, okay, those are stairs that go up and they lead somewhere else. Those are stairs that go down and they lead somewhere else. There's like a whole corridor that just opens up into the rest of the TARDIS and stuff like that. It's probably my favorite TARDIS design because it's still very much like, it feels like the 10th Doctor's TARDIS evolved. It is still very much like, you know, looks like there's bits of stuff just thrown across the console and strung along or whatever. But then there are like some things that like, okay, that looks spacey. Like, okay, that looks, you know, futuristic and stuff like that. But then like his like crazy explanations for other stuff where it's like, yeah, that's ketchup, that's mustard, you know, it's cool. It's all fun and games. Yeah. Love that. But then, yeah, we find out that Amy is supposed to get married in the morning. And she just ran off, and we don't know why.
I was so worried that it was going to be another Rose.
Another Rose situation?
Another Rose situation. I was so worried that it was going to do that. But then, like, I remembered you said this is, like, a sci-fi and not a space opera.
Yeah.
And I was like, it immediately, like, assuaded my fear. I was like,
right.
Okay, cool.
All right, fine. No, we're good. And then we go to The Beast Below, which is not so big on the overall storyline, but it is very big on characters. Yeah. And establishes, we talked a little bit about it, but establishes more about the Doctor, more about Amy, more about the Doctor and Amy's relationship. And it's really where you first see like Amy sort of pulling the Doctor back in, like you said. Yeah. And I like how it's interesting seeing this season again. I keep saying again in retrospective, but it's really true because there are so many things that you notice about Matt's Doctor and his evolution over time, and how I think even in this season you sort of see how he goes from like big outbursts of anger in The Beast Below to becoming more subdued and calmed down, but still having like bursts of anger coming out every now and then. And I think that was really, really good for setting up their character arc, and really sowing the seeds of their friendship from the beginning, and really seeing the connection that they have and how that realistically and understandably develops into their close friendship throughout the season. But then after The Beast Below, we get the return of the Daleks with Victory of the Daleks. And that was really when the mystery started to pick up. What? No, go ahead. Say your thoughts.
Like, okay, sorry, I have to copyright that or something. I don't know, but like, I'm glad that the Daleks weren't the main enemy at the end, because I thought that was setting up. Like, okay, when I first saw that episode, I was like, all right, cool. They're setting like I know that the Daleks aren't a one episode kind of thing,
right?
So like, and then they showed the new Daleks, and I'm like, you're less scary.
Yeah.
You're not as scary. I'm so sorry. You don't even sound like a Dalek.
Yeah.
You look like a Power Ranger.
Yeah. That was what the fandom called them, the Power Ranger Daleks. Like, it is I feel like it's a really good episode from, like, in the beginning, where it's, like, setting up, like, okay, what are the Daleks doing here? Why are they pretending to be people soldiers and stuff like that? Right. Yeah. But then as soon as, like, they get into the new Dalek paradigm and stuff like that, like, it's just like, okay, what happened here? It's just kind of fell apart. And it's, like, good for starting to setting up the Kraken time mystery even more, because for some strange reason, Amy doesn't remember the Daleks being in, you know, like, on Earth in 2008. But overall, it's I feel like in the end, it is a very mediocre episode. It was written by Mark Gatiss, who I think is a great actor, and when he is acting in Doctor Who, he is phenomenal. But I think he, across the board, kind of writes some of the weaker Doctor Who episodes. If they're not bad, they're very just inconsequential. And it's just like, but I think it's, again, good for starting to set up the mystery, and then going deeper into what Amy brings to the Doctor and to the TARDIS team, because the Doctor is trying to talk to I forget the name of the scientist that the Daleks created, but he's trying to speak to the scientist and saying, like, you're human, like, if you believe that you're human, then this bomb won't blow up or whatever, which is a very, like, premise, but
Dory kind of
right.
Like, we all love each other.
It's like, is that how bombs work? I feel like it's not how bombs work.
I don't think.
Right. But I think it's still a very good moment for Amy, because the Doctor's like, you're human, tell me about where you grew up, and all these, like, facts and figures. But then Amy gets into the emotional part of it, and it's like, okay, you like someone you're not supposed to. Like, how did that feel? Like, tell me about her. Like, tell me about, like, your memories of her and stuff like that, and really getting into the emotion of it. Which, you know, again, shows, I think is good for showing, like, the Doctor needs these humans because of these moments, but then also just showing Amy's compassionate side on top of her being extremely intelligent and lovely and amazing and perfect, and I love her. But then after that, we get into Time of Angels and Flesh and Stone, which is the one with the Weeping Angels.
I love the Weeping Angels. They're probably my favorite.
They are phenomenal.
Race.
And I really like how this episode sort of expands on their lore, while also still giving us more Miss River song, being phenomenal in those badass Louis Vuitton heels.
Yes, honey.
And just being amazing. But this is, I feel like, this is really the first time that you get to see River in all of River's glory, because, like, in the Silence of the Library episodes, I feel like that's very much her being sort of not, I don't want to say standoffish again, that's not the word I'm looking for, but sort of, like, reserved, because of the Doctor not really knowing her, and she's like, I don't really know how much I can delve into our relationship, etc., etc., etc. But now she knows the Doctor knows her, even though he only knows her a little bit, and, like, you know, she's able to be a little bit more like herself and more comfortable with herself. And intelligent and amazing. And I love that moment that they have when they're going through the catacombs, and they're around all the statues or whatever, and the Doctor's like, there's something that we're missing, and I don't know what it is. And then he stops and he just goes, oh. And then River goes, oh. And then everyone else is around them is like, what's going on? And I love that moment because it's such a small moment that gives you so much more, I guess, context for River, because it's like, oh, this is someone who is, like, if not on the Doctor's level, but closer to the Doctor's level. You know what I mean? I love that episode for the Weeping Angels, but then also, like, delving more into River and her character and story. And it's also the first mention of the Pandorica, which I remember seeing it for the first episode and being like, oh, the Pandorica, like, I guess.
Pandora's box?
Right,
is
like.
This, like, the Doctor Who's version of that?
Right. Kind of, yeah. But then, like, yeah. It's the first mention of that, and then I remember like watching that and being like, oh my god, like okay, that's where the season's going. Cool, like that's amazing and fun. Um, but then at the end of that episode, Amy has that sort of moment with the doctor where she starts making out with him and stuff like that. What were your thoughts in that situation, in that moment?
I was a little worried that it was going to be
A Rose and Doctor situation,
again.
yeah.
But then I kind of, like we mentioned earlier,
Right.
I kind of realized that like because it kind of concluded itself right then and there, and from that point I realized like that's not
yeah, right.
after the makeout session ended. It just it kind of worried me first, but then it solidified like okay,
mm-hmm.
she's going to be his friend.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
And I'm not gonna have to worry about any kind of drama at all in that respect. And then
right.
Along. Just a little bit of drama, but it was fine.
Right.
But I enjoyed that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like it's that what that moment was for, because there was like a tiny bit of like quote unquote tension of like Amy sort of seemingly having a crush on the doctor, but then that moment is very much like, okay, yeah, this is not the road that we're going down again. Yeah, and then we get Vampires in Venice with Rory's first time on the TARDIS, and him and the Doctor kind of having that competition, but I like that sort of character driven moment or episode because it is very much like, from the Doctor's point of view, he isn't really competing with Rory. He's trying to show like, hey, Amy still cares about you. Amy, you still care about Rory. Me and Amy are just best friends. Like that's like why we're so excited, why we're on this. And I think it's good for the Doctor because it's the Doctor trying to show that like show both Amy and Rory that they're just friends. I think it's a good story for Amy because it's really, I feel like, where Amy sort of gets this idea of I have to choose between the Doctor and Rory, or my life with the Doctor or my life with Rory. And then it's Rory sort of, you get more sense of Rory's not really insecurities, but like, what's the word I'm looking for? You get more of a sense of his hesitation to their relationship and stuff like that, and more of an idea like about their relationship in general. Period. You know, like
because
Amy,
Rory sees how dangerous the Doctor is.
Right.
It
Exactly.
becomes less about the competition and more like you don't see that she's literally in like captured by them.
Yeah.
Like, she's in danger.
Right.
And because you wanted to go along with that plan.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But then after that, we get Amy's Choice, which is honestly probably my favorite episode of this season. Because it is you think that it's an episode about like the Dream Lord and you know the Doctor fighting or whatever, but it's very much an episode about like Amy and, you know, again, her choice between her life with the Doctor and her life with Rory, and her feeling like, you know, she had to choose. And it's interesting because you think that it was the Doctor's dream because the Dream Lord really attacked him, and the psychic pollen, I think it was called, really latched onto him and expanded his darkness. But it was really just all like of Amy's, you know, her life and her thought process and imagination. But I just think it's a really good episode showing that because of their Amy and Rory's sort of interactions, it's very easy to think like, oh, Rory obviously loves Amy much more than Amy loves Rory. Like that's the obvious idea or thought process that somebody would go down. But then like you get a sense, like not even a sense, you see at the end of the episode how much she cares for him. And I remember there was that moment that you said you were kind of confused about when she says like, I never told him like I loved him or how much I loved him or whatever.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I understand that personally, just because like I also sometimes have problems showing affection, and it's hard for me to like, you know, have a genuine moment with my friends where it's just like, oh, I love you, you mean so much to me, etc., etc., etc. Like my way of saying I love you is like, shut up, you're stupid. And when I say that, that's my way of saying, what you said was just funny, but I'm not gonna give it to you because like it was stupid. But I understood it more, and it's I've never, ever since that episode, I've never questioned that Amy loved Rory like ever, not ever in a moment. But yeah, that's a really good episode for the two of them. And the Hungry Earth and Cold Blood, I feel like is another good. It's a filler-ish episode that I personally enjoy. I don't know how you felt about it personally. The episode with the Silurians, the lizard people. I know, I know some issues you had with it. But,
I was frustrated with that episode. I enjoyed it. It was good. Didn't like how Rory ended with that situation. Didn't like how Rory died because in the episode right before he survived everything because of Amy's choice. And it was like, great, and then she just gets, whatever. My biggest issue with it was just like it seemed very forced. Mm-hmm. Like it seemed like a military officer that had existed for so long and mm-hmm. Was ready for it. Like she just assumed that this one person or that this one drill was an attack, and assumed that when they got up there and saw that there was only 6 people or whatever, or a handful of people that were just like trying to figure out what happened to the first person that got stolen. Yeah. And I don't understand why their first thought wasn't like, just to scout them and be like, what's going on? And then talk to the human that they got. Right. Because, like, it just was, the entire thing was like, oh, humans are invading us. That's the entire premise. And the doctor ever saying, hey, no, no one's invading anybody. You just kind of took people mistakenly, and we just want them back because your person attacked us, and you want them back? Because, like, so it just seemed like they were fighting for nothing. Yeah. Like, I get that, like, there was an entire race of people that, are trying to come back to the surface, and I'm not saying that, like, that isn't a cool and interesting story. Right. That's really cool and interesting, but, like, it's just, like, I didn't like the way it was done. Right. Yeah, and I can see and hear your point, and I agree mostly. I think it was definitely an episode that was trying to talk about, like, immigration and, mm-hmm. Like, sharing land and all of these different things, and I think probably, like, colonialism and all of those topics that need to be talked about need to be addressed. But it was very much a situation of, like, okay, the doctor didn't just say, like, hey, no one's invading you. It was a drill. This is what drills are for. Like, I'm sorry, but let's still talk about, like, how we can share the earth and stuff like that. But, like, it's what happens at the end of that episode is definitely the most important thing. Rory's death, which he sadly tragically dies when Restak, I think her name is, shoots him, and then he's erased from time. And I think I like the explanation of, like, yeah, sure, Amy, you remembered the clerics on the Byzantium, because, like, they weren't a part of your history, they weren't a part of your timeline. This is your personal timeline that is changing. So, like, you can remember because, you're a time traveler, you lived with a crack inside of your wall, and I had all of this, like, time energy spewing out into you. So, like, you can remember, you can bring him back, or you can keep him alive in your memory. But you have to work really hard. And then the very tragic thing where, the TARDIS lands and she forgets all about Rory, which is really, really sad. And I remember you, like, being so pissed about, like, the fact that it happened right after Amy's choice. Yeah. And then I was sitting there like, I can't exactly tell him that he's coming back, but, like, because he doesn't technically come back.
That is true. Yeah, not until, like, the universe gets reset. Yeah, but,
like, not until the very, very end. Yeah, it's like I for sure at the end of that episode, I was so convinced that, like, oh great, mm-hmm. we get a companion with a decent love life, and a partnership to the Doctor, and they just decided to say nope, never mind.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it is a nice reverse fridging, instead of a woman dying to progress a man's plot line, it was a man dying to progress a woman's. Yes. Like, it's something, I guess. And then Vincent and the Doctor, I would be remiss to not mention it. It is, for all intents and purposes, in the grand scheme of this season, it's very inconsequential, but it is a beautiful, beautiful episode that I loved, the one where he goes back to Vince, like, and spends time with Vincent Van Gogh. golf. I don't know how to say it.
Apparently golf.
Yeah.
You said golf was the proper way. That's the British way. The
that
proper
is
way.
the
And I'm like, okay. So golf.
Yeah, so Vincent Van Gogh. I think it is a beautiful episode talking about, depression and mental health and all of these beautiful, beautiful things. And that ending, oh my God, that ending where like Vincent goes to the future and sees his own exhibit is beautiful and warms my heart every time. Then after that's The Lodger, which is a very inconsequential episode. But then we get the two-parter, the finale with Pandorica opens and the Big Bang. So I mean, compared to past finales, how do you think that this one stacked up?
I thought this was up there.
Mm-hmm.
Because even like, I'd say the only one I'd put above it is the big one with the 10th Doctor and like everyone coming together,
Mm-hmm.
Against the Daleks. Like that was a big one.
Yeah.
Right, but like again, the only reason that was so grandiose because like it was meant to be that grandiose.
Yeah.
This one is just meant to be like this is
season finale.
Season's finale. This is the crack of time is
Yeah.
solved and everything like that.
Yeah.
Quote, for the most part.
Right.
The thing that I liked about it was how the first episode set up to be its own kind of like, okay, cool, we found the Pandorica box
Mm-hmm.
and we're just gonna open it up, see what happens.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna solve it.
Right.
And it was the end. But like, then the Alliance shows up, the evil Alliance, and they're like, no, this is for you.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, like when they first were describing the Pandorica, like I didn't think that like it was meant for him, but I thought maybe it was meant for a Doctor or a Time Lord, and I was like, oh God, are we gonna see like someone like the Master? Are we gonna see the Master?
Right.
And I just like the way that it was set up, and then yeah, I like the way that it was set up, and I like how what it ended up being, and how it ended up relying on Amy.
Yeah.
I love that the last episode like centered around Amy and how her, it may be because she has like all these super abilities, with her because of like the not super abilities, but like special understanding of the universe because of all the universe pouring into her. I think it's awesome that she got to have her family, her wedding. Like it felt like we finally got like a very happy ending without any kind of bittersweet taste in my mouth for it. Yeah. For the Doctor, for him, and for the campaign. And then they're like, you know what? Bye. And then they just leave with the Doctor. And it's great because I'm like, that's exactly what they want to do, and I love that they both want to do that. Yeah. And I also love the fact that in the sorry, this is getting off a little.
No,
bit,
you're
but
fine.
in the Sarah Jane
Adventures, yeah.
Yeah, he mentions like, oh, they're on a honeymoon, and I love that little joke that he does with it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so cute that you're being so supportive. You're just like,
you
here you go, you two crazy kids. You have fun. I'm gonna go take care of my other girlfriend back on Earth. Okay, bye. And like, I just love it.
Yeah, no, I really like how this episode you think that is going to be. It's set up like a very like Russell T Davies era episode where it's like, okay, the Doctor's gonna have to fight off this entire like all of these aliens at once, and he's gonna have to all either send them packing or erase them from time or whatever. And then that moment, that twist where they're all just like, no, sis, we're all here because of you, and we're locking you in there because you're a danger to every single one of us. You know what I mean? Like I love that sort of twist on it. And I like there was a lot of, or I heard a lot of criticism about how like Stephen writes those types of things where it's just like, oh, like everyone knows about the Doctor or everyone's afraid of the Doctor and stuff like that. But it's like, even if like there was the Doctor's timeline was very linear to how we view the show. The Doctor is at this point I think 47-year-old man, right? Who has still been doing all the stuff that he's been doing for 47 years, and like has been going out, saving a bunch of people, stopping a bunch of people's plans. Like if he was a very human person, right? And he was stopping drug cartels and, sending people to jail, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, like down the line, if he's been doing this for like, so many years consistently, down the line, all of like the drug lords or whatever are going to come together and be like, all right, what can we do to stop this dude from messing with our plans and from potentially destroying us all, you know? I think that just makes perfect sense. And then I like how season finale doesn't turn out to be one of those like, okay, we're stopping the bad guys. It's like, okay, we have a situation that we have to figure out. Let's figure out that situation. Yep. I really, really like that. And it still feels like a season finale without needing to have like a quote unquote big bad, you know? I really, really like that. But then, yeah, like you said, like Amy and Rory get married at the end. It's a beautiful ceremony. I love, I have to mention Rory staying with Amy for 2,000 years. Like, I love that.
Ultimate romance right there.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, where he's just like, tell me that she won't be safer if I'm not here. And the doctor's like, I can't do that, so, like, good luck, bro. I love that. Oh god, I love their relationship and them so much. But then yeah, so like the season ends, Amy and Rory gets married. We get a little more hints of to who River's song is.
They're married. They're married. They're like, I know they're probably setting up some kind of, big twist. I don't care. They're married. Even if they're not, they're married. She is the perfect counter to him.
Right.
Perfect everything to him. She keeps him in check. She, is as quick-witted as him, as smart as him. Maybe not as smart as him, but like
very damn near close.
Very damn near close. You know, until like I know who she is exactly.
Right.
Like, no, he's probably just a little smarter.
Right.
Yeah. No. I'm so excited to see more. She's probably gonna be. She already is. My favorite, recurring character.
Right.
She's written so well, and her actress is just. Oh god, gorgeous!
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, love her so much. But then we get in chronologically when it comes to like the seasons and the Doctor's timeline, we get the Sarah Jane Adventures. With two short kind of episodes. One mostly without the Doctor, one with the Doctor, with the 11th Doctor. And I mean, I personally like this episode more than like 10's Sarah Jane Adventures episode. Because I don't know, I feel like that, and maybe it was because we didn't watch the full season of either shows, either episodes. But I feel like in the 10th Doctor episode, it was very much like, okay, Sarah Jane's getting married. This seems very weird, and then the Doctor's here for some reason. Whereas I like how this one is very much set up like, it's like, no, this is a plot involving the Doctor. Like, they're trying to get the TARDIS. They lock the Doctor on this planet, etc., etc., etc. And we also get introduced for people who haven't watched the classic series to Jo Grant, or Jo Jones, as she's known now, who also traveled with the third Doctor right before Sarah Jane Smith. And this is something that I wish the main show would do more of, is like introduce more classic companions in sort of this new, fresh way. Because I think the episode is very good at like understanding, okay, like, she has this relationship with the Doctor. The Doctor she traveled with the Doctor. She worked with the Doctor. But it doesn't rely so much of like, hey, to get this sort of emotional impact or this feeling, you have to watch, her entire run with the third Doctor and stuff like that. I think Russell is very good at writing older companions in a way where new Who companions can still sort of understand the relationship between them and the Doctor. I still kind of have an issue with how he talks about regeneration, like that whole moment where Sarah Jane's like, that old body of yours, like, was he okay in the end? It's like, obviously, girl, he's sitting right in front of you just with a new face. Like, but I really like that episode and really enjoy that episode. But I mean, that kind of like wraps up all of Series 5 and our really introduction to the 11th Doctor. He's very quirky. He is awkward. He is clumsy. He's like stupid in a very intelligent way. And I just love him. I love my baby so much. That's my baby. But yeah, I mean, we have Series 6 coming up, which is really when things start to get wild. Like this, I feel like Season 5 was very much Steven sort of getting his own footing, and I feel like having to continue what Russell T Davies did with Doctor Who. And he sort of gets like that with Series 6 as well. I feel like Series 7 is really when he comes into his own as a showrunner. But Series 6 I really enjoy, and it's got some crazy things that happen. Do you have any like hopes or let me start with that. What are your hopes for Series 6?
Just more of everything. I enjoy how sci-fi feeling it is.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy how I enjoy the writing. I enjoy I'm already enjoying it, so I'm excited to see how much more
Mm-hmm.
I'll be able to enjoy it. The only thought I still have about or hope or concern or thought on the future is who got all those people together.
Right.
Because there's still that that voice.
Yeah, the voice and the TARDIS blowing up. Who blew up the TARDIS? And...
Right now, my thought is Master.
Right.
But I feel like that's also the obvious one.
Mm-hmm.
But I there's no way all these races came together on their own.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way the dogs for 1 second were like,
okay, we're going to be
we're not going to accept it.
right.
And there's no one but the Doctor who
right.
can shut up. So
right.
I feel like that's why the Master,
mm-hmm.
another Time Lord, is a good person.
It's just like
is a potential here.
Maybe.
Anyway.
It's like I remember a lot of the question the answers to those questions, but honestly I don't remember all of it. Yeah, because a lot of them are overarching things that go all throughout Matt Smith's tenure as the Doctor and era as the Doctor. Do you have any theories other than the Master being the one that blew up the TARDIS? Do you have any other major theories or anything like that, or?
No, I mean, obviously there's some big bad that's going to be coming eventually.
Mm-hmm.
This is setting up for the big bad.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think Amy and Rory are going to be there for a little bit. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Amy's going to be there through the entire
Matt Smith run.
Matt Smith run. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's logical. I think they'd be playing favoritism with the character too much.
Right.
I think they want to switch it up, but also at the same time, I'd be more than happy to see her more often.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see more of Miss Riversong.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see their relationship. I want to see it blossom and grow and
mm-hmm.
fall in love with each other. Yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. Yeah, Series 6 is really when things start to get crazy, timey-wimey, wibbly wobbly, sci-fi. It's a really fun time, and I have a lot of fond memories watching Series 6 with my friends from high school. It was a lot of screaming, a lot of what? It's a fun time. Yeah.
So let's watch it tonight.
Yes, let's watch it tonight. But yeah, that was our sort of talk about Matt Smith's first season as the Doctor, the 11th Doctor. Love him so much. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in again. Feedback is more than welcome. Thank you for again turning into our little show. We hope you guys are great. Watch Doctor Who, support Doctor Who.
Comment, and subscribe.
Subscribe, as Mac does with us. Comment, and surprise. That's going to be our thing. Yep. But thanks, guys. All right. Bye.